Look, y'all can tell me if I'm bugging. If I am tripping, I need you to tell me, Red, nah, you out of your mind. Because right now, I personally feel like the people who are complaining the loudest about Myles Mackenzie are far more annoying than Myles Mackenzie. Anything that we've seen in Metroid Prime 4 Beyond that includes Myles Mackenzie, y'all are topping that by 1,000. Because while Miles is saying, hey, Samus, look at that over there. Hey, Samus, maybe you should try saving at that save station. You know what y'all doing? Y'all telling us, hey, you Metroid fan, that's not a real Metroid game. It's not a real Prime game. You know what? It ruins all the vibes. It ruins the atmosphere. It takes away all the tension. And y'all just going down a list of nonsense to me. Respectfully, I understand that the list has various opinions from various different people. Some people who feel like, I just don't like the fact that he's pointing out the obvious. That's one group. Then there's the group of, no, it's not Metroid. It's bad. It's horrible. Samus interacting with anything is god awful. You know, I covered a lot of this in the last one. And I'm thankful that y'all watched that video and y'all enjoyed that video. But understand, after sitting back and just watching even more, just the narrative just continue to snowball out of control to the point where it's like, yeah, this game is bad, legitimately. Like, people are like, yeah, I'm not buying that game. And guess what? I am not worried, because I think for every one of y'all who not buying it, now there's going to be two people who are going to be buying it. And I 100% expect this game to be the best-selling game in the entire entry. It's definitely, I feel, going to outsell Prime 1, 2, and 3. Will it do it combined? Oh, man, it would be so nice. It would be so nice, because here's the reality, right? I look at Myles Mackenzie for what he actually is. And I actually look at this game for what we've seen so far, for what it actually is. Look, we start on that space station. There's a bunch of characters there. You see the characters running, trying to get the artifact out the place, but then Silex, shows up, and all hell ensues, right? And a giant disaster happens, which leads to a bunch of people who had no intention of going to Vuros being on Vuros. The first person who you find happens to be the more scientist type, not the warrior type, the scientist type, the one who was probably on that space station just doing research and what he does, which is analyzing and analysis and saying, oh yeah, I think this should go like this, that should go like this, oh, we should do this and that in order to make this planet hospitable. Who knows what this guy was doing, for the Federation, but clearly he's, the engineer scientist type. And so he's a super nerd. And it's crazy to see a bunch of people who claim to be nerds mad at this nerd, geeking out about seeing Samus, who we all geek out about and nerd out about. Oh, yeah, but he shouldn't be in the game. Why not? What universe is this that's so small that doesn't include a Peter Parker type? What universe is this? And why not? I like the fact that there's going to be, a guy who's all about family, who's probably don't really care too much about anything else except getting home. You're going to have, the woman there. You're going to have, I can't break down what each of them are because we don't know yet. But the fact that we're getting different characters to care about beyond just the planet and beyond, whatever it is that the Lemoran want us to do for them, it's nice. The fact that now we're going to play a game that has these stakes that it's like, yeah, I want to save this character. I want to save that character. Some of y'all want to see these characters fall. But the fact that there's a game that you're going into now that is a Metroid game that has these stakes to it is nice. It's very nice to me. Like, I'm so excited. But again, I am the content creator who's been talking about Metroid games forever being bigger, better. And I've seen the narratives, and this is my favorite. Oh, we don't need Metroid to grow. We don't need Metroid to be mainstream. We don't need Metroid to appeal to other players or to handhold the opening because we're trying to open up the game to other players. It's like, yo, we just went damn near 20 years without one of these games proper. Not one. And y'all basically saying, I'm good with that. I'm not good with that. I have not been good with that. Most people who know me since I started content creation, they know me as the dude who's been talking about Metroid Prime 4 for all these years. And it's like, yeah, since 2011. And y'all want me to get this game and then do that again, because that's really what y'all asking for. Look, let me explain something to y'all, who y'all are and why I find y'all so annoying right now. Like, and I mean this with all the respect in the world to you as a Metroid fan, because you are a Metroid fan. You just that kind of Metroid fan. And I'm this kind of Metroid fan. And it's all good because we're both Metroid fan. None of us is right or wrong, but it just so happens to be that the tune that I've been singing for the last 20 years is the same one that Retro and Tanabe followed. This is everything that I've been saying I wanted in the Metroid game. More open world, more federation, more characters, and all of that. Hell, was not the one saying, man, I want Samus to use her left hand in the next game. I don't know to do well, whether she picks up a Federation soldier, a special weapon, but that left hand just be there. I wanted to do something, and now it's doing something. There's a lot that I've been saying about this game that it's doing now, and that's because I'm a Metroid fan. And understand, there's a lot of Metroid games that are varied in quality. There's spin-offs and all of that. But when it comes to the mainline Prime games, we was heading in this direction. And we're here. And there's a lot of people who don't want to be here and put rules on this game. It can't be this, it can't be this, it can't be that, it can't be that. Fine. Got it. I'm going to tell you exactly who you are now. Because there's another IP from this very company that I can point to say, this is what you want Metroid to be. And this is the truth. You could want to spin it and say, nah, that's not what I want. But it is. And when you listen to yourself, and I listen to you, and others who are on my side of this Metroid conversation listen to you, when I say this, they all going to agree with me. Because you know who y'all are? Y'all are Star Fox fans. But it's weird to say Star Fox fans because Star Fox fans never ask for us to be stuck in an endless loop like Groundhog Day of Fox McCloud and his daddy issues and Andross. And Fox McCloud, daddy issues, Andross. Like, what? I've a IP that I loved at a time more than even Metroid. When Star Fox came out and then Star Fox 64 came out with all of that narrative and all the different threads and characters popping up here and there, and they had this cohesive story. You know what I'm saying? You had what's his name? Pigma, right? The pig who was part of the group back with, James McCloud and Peppy and all that. And then he ended up doing them dirty, joining Andross and creating, the whole wolf situation. And that's, Star Fox Group's ops. Basically the complete opposite of, Star Fox. You got Wolf there, you got the Lizard there and all that. Andross's nephew, the gorilla, he was part of the group too. So it had this story. And I know the story because, well, I love the damn IP. And then they never went nowhere. And I played Command and I saw them try to do stuff. It's like, yeah, we continued the story. It's like, yeah, but it still felt like, all right, daddy issue, Andross usually. But like Assault, I think was the one where they actually killed off Pigma. Then he came back in Command as that, as the crazy, AI technology cube. But it was wild. But they was trying. But for the most part, those games didn't do well. And then they would come back with Zero, and it's like, yeah, it's Star Fox 64 remix, like again. And it's like, yeah, who asked for this? Who wants this? Like I've been saying for years, Star Fox needs to be 4-player co-op, single player, where you and your friends could go and get high scores and compare it to other group of players. You know what I'm saying? You could do a single player or you could do a multiplayer and have multiple paths. Y'all two go this way, us two gonna go that way, like Gears of War would do. You know what I'm saying? For certain things. So you went through the waterfall, we went on the straight path on Coinaria or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Like things like you went on foot into the train and you got to get off the train before it explodes. But I'm doing the same Star Fox 64 story just to give you the perfect example so you can envision what I'm saying. And then you got Landmaster, one person on the Landmaster and one person, in their goddamn R-Wing. And oh yeah, before it explodes, the person on the ship on foot gets either into the Landmaster or into the R-Wing and is, saved. Blah, the whole thing happened. Like, that's a good game. Now you got the camera from the Switch and all that. So when all the faces pop up and you talking, because it's always been my thought process, when you talk, it pops up on the screen, your face and all that. Like the gibberish that they would do to each other. And whenever they're actually talking in story, it would just, mute the mics for a second, we'll get the story. And once that's done, you go right back to playing, and when you're talking now, your image is popping up from your Switch 2 camera. And if you don't got your camera on, it'll be the actual character you're playing as, but it'll be you yapping and the mouth will be moving. We have the tech to do all that stuff. That's the most interesting thing they could do with Star Fox, and then have an online multiplayer. Honestly, as much as people would hate the sound of this, but Star Fox would have been a great Fortnite game. You had your Landmaster, you have your planes, you have your submarines and all that. You have everything there. You could do 1,000 different animal buddies. You can even bring in other IPs and bring them in. Yeah, you come in this as an animal buddy. So it's like, yeah, we're bringing in Snake, but he's a goddamn Snake, but he's dressed like Snake from Metal Gear. Like, that's crazy, but it could have worked. It's just like moving the IP forward instead of keeping it stuck in the same thing over and over until it's done and then it's in the Lost Woods. Hoping you sitting there dreaming that one day somebody will come up with an idea, then Nintendo will be like, yeah, you know what? That's good enough for Star Fox. Let's save that out of the Lost Woods and put a new game, you know what I'm saying, out. But the reality is, it's like Star Fox went through that, where it just stood the same thing, and then it kind of just it was never as good as 64. So imagine, and this always happens with y'all. Zero Mission, not as good as Super. Fusion, not as good as Super. Dread, not as good as Super. So if they kept doing the same thing, but then you're gonna be sitting there the whole time saying it's not as good as that old thing, there's literally no winning scenario here, other than just stop making the IP. Because if Nintendo can't be Nintendo, which is do what they do, which is innovate or introduce a reason to make a sequel, if they can't do that with Metroid because y'all put in the rules on the IP, they better off not just doing it. And you know what sucks as a fan? I understand. I understand, because if you're going to put up all these different walls, all these different barriers, and say, yeah, I can only play with this thing within the confines of what you said, there's no point. I already did what you liked the most. Clearly, nothing is ever going to compare to that thing. So we could either just sit there and remake those things, or we could just stop completely. I don't want them to stop. I want more. And I see the narrators of people who saying like, oh, yeah, the answer to making Metroid more popular is doing this. Maybe. You saying it, you being like condescending or whatever, but maybe. Maybe this will be the thing that puts a person over the edge and go, oh, I understand now the level design. I understand how this IP actually works because they actually introduced it for me. Sometimes you could go get the textbook that's about whatever. Or you could get the For Dummies version of that book that's about whatever. And it's just for people who need it explained like if they were a dummy. And that's okay. It's 100% okay. But for some reason, nah, it can't be this for Metroid. And then they take these other IPs, and then they hold up Metroid to the standard of those. But here's the thing. Metroid is available in the Waldorf Garden in one place. If it ain't a hit there, it ain't a hit nowhere. There's no PC version to save it. There's no way a PlayStation gamer could play it on their PlayStation, or an Xbox gamer is playing it on their Xbox, and it's adding to the actual sales of the game. You know what I'm saying? So it's on one place. These other games are available multiple places. People could try them. A lot of these games, they compared to them, they be $20, not $60. You know what I'm saying? Like whether it's 2D Metroid, whether it's 3D Metroid, what have they all been? Full price video games. We ain't talking $20 Hollow Knight here. We ain't talking, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot that goes into it. And on top of that, the budget. Like, yo, we lucky that this game even exists. But it's you got to add to that. We're even more lucky that it exists coming from Nintendo out of everybody. You know what I'm saying? And they don't just make these games. Clearly they don't. But they heard our cries year after year after year. We want another Metroid Prime. We want another Metroid Prime. We loved when we got Donkey Kong Returns and Tropical Freeze. We was like, man, we really want another Metroid Prime game. I don't even got to be a Prime game. It could just be a FPA. We just want another one of those style games from Retro Studios. And then we're finally getting it. And so many people love to say after 8 years of waiting, no, you've waited 18. That is the number. You've waited 18. You didn't get a game when they announced, oh, we're making Metroid, and then they delayed it, and then you started waiting again. There's not some weird checkpoint that happened that we restarted the clock. No, it's been 18 years. And before the game even comes out, and here's the thing, the game looks incredible. Everything about it. And I understand, once you added talking, it broke everything for me. I can't be immersed in Metroid once I know there's other characters talking to Samus, because the only thing I ever valued about this game was one aspect of it. That's for another video. But Metroid is here. It is right in front of us. It's about to come out soon enough. And people have already wrote this game off and made up their minds to the point that every time this character pop up, they're going to scoff at it, roll their eyes. The fact of the matter is, everything from the joke to everything that this character doing, none of it is actually egregious. None of it is breaking the atmosphere. If anything, it's adding to it. Because now I got this guy that I got to worry about. I don't want to worry about this guy, but here he is. And that's awesome when you play 1, 2, 3, 4. That 4 opens different from 1, 2, 3, similar to 3, but then switches it up and they give you all of this stuff, 4. And you getting something completely different. It is still a continuation of a story. If it wasn't, they would have never called it Prime. How does the Prime connect to all of it? I don't know. The Lemoyne looked kind of like a Prime, but we don't know yet. But they gave it that name because it's a continuation, clearly. And before even, you got to understand, before Myles, this is what I'm saying, like, I see y'all. Before Myles was even shown, before we ever got to Mackenzie, there was a little hate brigade for Silex. Oh, lame character, boring design. Like, yo, bro, listen, man. I'm gonna be very, very, very clear. I've waited for this character's payoff for years, and it's finally about to happen. Yeah, there's no you being able to spin this to be a bad thing or he's a lame character or whatever. Nah, it's been years in the making. They finally gonna do the game where this guy's gonna be fully explored. Who is Silex? Silex is a character who hates Samus, who hates the Federation. Who's in this game? Silex, the Federation, and Samus. You know what I'm saying? And somehow, some way, these things don't get put together to be like, oh man, this is gonna be an interesting story or whatever. Because the truth is, a lot of these people don't care about the story. They don't even want it to have a story. They want a super like planet needs help, you save planet, end of the game. That's Metroid. And when Metroid does anything beyond that, it's not Metroid. I saw people say it's not a real Prime game because of that character's inclusion, but I'm still excited for it. Weird fandom, yo. A weird, weird fan base. I just don't come from that school, that way of thinking. Like, I would hate to be a fan of anything, a musician, a IP, and be like, yeah, your album gotta be this because if it ain't that, and I know people do that a lot to artists. Oh, it ain't better than the first one. It ain't better than the first one. And I get it. He first came out when he first came out. I understand that, but I'm not that. You know, I've followed artists, some artists for 20, even more than 20 years at this point. You know what I'm saying? And I've stuck with them throughout because they continue to evolve and make fantastic music even beyond when mainstream doesn't play them no more. I don't care about that. There's multiple artists I listen to like that. And look, I think that I should add that there's things that I love that stick to a specific design for many years. And I love it because of those things. Hell, Metroid, Zelda, Mario, a lot of stuff is like, yeah, I love it because of the things that make it that thing. But it's always things. It's not just one thing, you know? And I can literally give you a perfect example of a thing that I've loved forever that's been around before I was even alive. And I respect what came before, and I still respect what comes after, while the fan base of it is all over the place. Oh, this is not a real version. That's not that. Oh, I didn't like this. I didn't like that. Whether you're talking Casino Royale, Moonraker, GoldenEye, it doesn't matter. Tomorrow Never Dies, Live and Let Die. 007 as an IP is Martini Shaken Not Stirred, Aston Martin, Bond girls, action, villain who wants to take over the world or end it. You know what I'm saying? And those are the tropes that make a Bond movie. Now, use those tropes and do something that is entertaining to the audience that expects those tropes in a film. Right now, there's people cooking that up right now at Amazon. A whole new group of people cooking up the next Bond adventure. And they have to find the perfect balance. Look, I'll give you a quick example. The Bond game, right? First Light, they just showed that off. A bunch of Bond fans was like, I don't like this. I don't like the way this guy looks. And why? Because their favorite is Pierce Brosnan. Because their favorite is the one that they grew up with. Whether it was Roger Moore, whether it was Daniel Craig, or it was Sean Connery. Yeah, this guy don't look like that. But then I'm like, but he looks exactly like what Ian Fleming described James Bond to look like. There's one drawing by the man, and he got the scar on his face and everything. This guy looks more like Bond than any of the actors who play Bond. But yet, there was a negative reaction to him because some people don't know the source material. Some people don't care like that. Some people just expect the tropes. You know, the him being. There's people who hated Daniel Craig because he was so serious. He wasn't the campy invisible car that we got prior. You know, he was more like Timothy Dalton, which was prior to Craig, you know what I'm saying? So, not Craig, prior to Craig and Pierce Brosnan. So, Bond could go from being like very campy, and oh, look, he's in the moon now. You know what I'm saying? To being very serious. There's different levels to it, and the series has managed to survive through all that stuff. Things got shaky. It went away a bit, then it will come back. But Metroid feels like it's that right now, but without all of the wins that Bond got. It's like, yeah, you got to be this, you got to be, and it never got to explore beyond, no pun intended, but beyond, you know what I'm saying, what it was to what it could be. And there's an interesting conversation to have there, interesting dynamic right there that you can have between, the IP and the fans who play it, the people who create it, and the fans who consume it. There's a opportunity here to introduce new people and all that, but it's like the fan base doesn't want any conversation, any movement on anything. It's just, listen, Morph Ball, Power Bomb, Spider Ball, Screw Attack, and yeah, some space aliens, escape sequence, and that's Metroid to me. Just rinse and repeat. Make that over and over. Why you gotta try to reinvent the wheel, Nintendo? Why you always gotta try to do something different? We don't want all that. We don't. And it's like, imagine if you use the same arguments y'all using right now for Mario, for Zelda, for Kirby, for Pikmin. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh no, it ain't real Pikmin if it don't do the time of day and if it's not annoying as hell. Like, I hated that time of day thing in Pikmin 1. I liked the game in spite of that. Same with 2, and then they got way better with 3, and they got way better with 4. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate that. It's like, oh, yeah, but that's because you don't want the difficulty. And like, when did it become like this allegiance? Like, there's one thing like achievements. Gamers cared about that. But now it's like, oh yeah, a hard game. Yeah, it gotta be hard. And it should just be hard. No easy, no pause button, no nothing. Just be hard. You know what I'm saying? Because when you play a hard game, that's when you really game. That's when you a real gamer, bro. Like, I don't play Call of Duty. I don't play Fortnite. I don't play little baby Nintendo games. It gotta be hard, bro. Like, I'm just struggling. You know what I'm saying? Just back and forth all day, over and over, trying, pulling my hair out. I'm hating this thing. Player's guide. Who needs those? It don't matter, because even if you read a player guide, it can't tell you nothing. It just says, get good. That's the kind of game that I love. That's a real game. That's a man's game. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand where like, how we got to this point where all these other Nintendo IPs are free to do everything. Nobody knows what the hell Monolith is going to do with the next Xeno game. If there even is going to be a next Xeno game, we don't even think there will. But we don't know what their next game is going to be. And you know what the reaction is going to be when that game is shown? Excitement, because it's their game. Now, there might be a little bit of hesitation if the game is so far off as an IP from what they did before. Like, oh yeah, now they're making a party game. It's not a, RPG or action RPG at least. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, it's completely a different genre. They're making goddamn a party game like goddamn Mario Party. People be like, damn, like, I didn't want that from the studio. Understandable, right? That'll be a reaction. That'll be a reaction from all of us. That's understandable. But if they show their next game and it looks like it fits in right with Metroid and Zelda and Xenoblade, like it's one of those caliber of games, people are going to be like, awesome, can't wait for this next thing from them. And you might say, oh yeah, but that's because it's a new IP. And I don't know. The point is, it don't matter what they would have did, you would have been cool with it. It's the same thing with Zelda. It don't matter what they do, what setting they choose, as long as it's keys and doors to open and a Master Sword and Zelda's there and Link is there and there's dungeon, like, yeah, you'll be fine. It don't matter what setting they choose to go in, what they choose to do. But Metroid doesn't get that at all. At all. And I could sit here and try to come up with various scenarios and excuses of why that is the case, that people feel this way. Like, oh, but that's because we haven't even had that many games and the style that we actually like. Because, I didn't like Zero Mission. I didn't like Fusion. I didn't like Dread. Metroid 1 was cool, and I respect it for being the thing that led to Super, but I didn't really care for it like that. Metroid 2, fighting all those Metroids, wasn't all that to me. The Prime series, like, it's good. Like, I prefer the first one, you know what I mean? More than any of the other ones. Like, I didn't really play 3, and I played a little bit of 2. But yeah, Prime 1 was really good, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, but Super is the best. So let me get this straight. You haven't liked the Metroid game since 1994. That's over 30 years ago. Bro, just call a spade a spade. You're not a fan of the IP. The IP evolved, became something else. And look, I'm good with Mackenzie. I'm excited to experience his portion of the game now and see where it goes even after that because of all this even more now. I would have always been excited. But all of this vitriol and all the coming from such an angry mob of Metroid fans, it's wild. And here's the thing. My favorite that I saw was a person say, this isn't a real Metroid game. Real Metroid is Hollow Knight, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, the Blind Forest. Real Metroid lives in From Software games and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, all right, then if that is the case, go play your supposed real Metroid and leave us alone to play our fake Metroid then, if that is the case. Let us enjoy this Samus adventure. Let us enjoy the bounty hunter being who she was always supposed to be, who we always thought of the character to be. No, I understand, but you should think it only. You shouldn't actually see it play out. Even though Super Metroid was the one that was like, yeah, Federation soldiers or scientists, but the point is that damn game was the one that introduced other characters, the potential of a wider universe than what we saw previously. And with that, I'm going to just end it here. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you screw attack that like button, screw attack that subscribe button. I appreciate each and every one of y'all who take the time, become patrons, whether as a free member or as a paid member. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.